Good to see you. I heard that you are feeling like SHIIIIIT. I am too. It is an awful day to have chronic pain. I'm so sorry. I'm impressed you still came in for your physical though. Hey, that's something. You're doing something so that you can take care of yourself, so that you can take care of others, right? It's not selfish if the goal is like, hey, I'm going to take care of myself, find my mission in the world, and make a difference, right? And that's the goal. That's what we're here for. So, let's start with the whole physical. While we're doing that, can you tell me a little bit about how the last couple months have been as far as your chronic pain has been and as far as everything else? Yeah. I know you've been wanting to talk about the trauma a little bit too, so that sounds good. Yeah, let's knock it out. Yeah, so the neighbors apparently have decided today is a good day to play very loud music. Yeah, right next to the clinic. It's a little bit unfortunate. No, I didn't bring my white coat to Paraguay. It's pretty dusty here everywhere all the time, so it was only going to be dirty. That's all. Unless you're working like in a hospital, but as you know, most of what I do is field medicine. So, in fact, I was gonna see you in the field tent, but then I figured you, Henrik, might be a little more comfortable here in this setting. So, let's get started. I'm gonna wash my hands first, okay? I've just got some good hand sanitizer here. And then next to you, I've got my computer so I can take notes on what we're doing and what's going on. You want some hand sanitizer too? Here. There you go. That way we're cleaner. Okay. Let's start from the top down. Is it okay if I feel your scalp? Okay. That is true. I think we're good as is, right? Okay. Let me just feel here. And then over here on this side. Now what I'm looking for here is you always want to just check for trauma real quick, but I do an extra thing in that I try to kind of see how much scalp tension you've got going on, because a lot of times people with chronic pain have a lot of headaches, and that helps me evaluate, like, would OMT be a good option for you, right? Sometimes that's the case. Okay. Eyes real quick. Just be very quick with that. Yeah, tell me about it. This morning, I woke up with so much pain, it was like difficult to stand. And then people always ask, like, well, can't you take medicine? And it's like, yeah, I'm on some pretty strong stuff, and I can't take more because this is my life, and I don't want to become addicted. I have to be functional, so the meds I take are meds to be functional. It's hard for people to understand. It's like, no, there's nothing I can take that makes this go away. This is my life. This is my effing life. My effing life is pain 100% of the time, all the time, and people don't understand. And then you find stuff that works, like, because I've got fibromyalgia and PTSD. Here we go, let's see. My light isn't being super cool right now. Okay, it'll be enough though. Okay. I just want to make sure. I'm going to put my hand on your shoulder here, okay? Yeah. Okay. What I'm looking for here is I'm just looking for cottonable spots or little tiny red, like burst blood vessels. I'm following at least 4 blood vessels to make sure that I can see them to the point that they terminate. I'm looking at your optic nerve. Yep. Okay. Other side. Okay, just gonna put my hand here on your shoulder. Same thing. I'm just looking to see, follow a couple blood vessels. I know I make a really weird face when I'm examining. And yes, I brushed my teeth, so my breath is minty, because this is very awkward and very just check your pupillary reflex here. When we do this, we do it twice because I'm checking to see that it does what it's supposed to do in one eye and also does that same thing with the other eye at the same time. In other words, there's supposed to be a reflex so that both eyes kind of work together. Some sleep trouble. Now, did you ever get that sleep study we talked about? No. I can write a formal referral. Let me just check here. So I want to measure your neck. Oh no. That's great. That's okay. That is what low-cost medicine is like. Okay. Folks who have it more than 15 centimeters, so here, in fact, we don't even need this part. Folks who have it more than 15 centimeters are kind of at a greater risk of sleep apnea problems. So just kind of excuse me, I do need this part. I got the number wrong, I just remembered. I'm having one of those days. It's so hard to remember stuff correctly when you're in pain, and I am in pain. That should tell you how much I care that I'm doing this anyway. I'm for real in pain. There we go. It's inches, not centimeters. So, let me just note that down. What a bummer. I actually only have the one because, you know, I'm mostly doing like low-cost indigenous medicine, and even my US patients that I do via telehealth, for real, it's pay what you want, and so most of them can't really afford to pay very much. So the equipment I have, I get either based on my it's to come from other resources like folks who donate to the, you know, my Indigenous health program, or let me just feel your lymph nodes while we're talking, or folks who join my Patreon, things like that. For real, like I'm not even kidding. That is how I buy medical equipment. My ultrasound machine, I had saved up for 10, almost 15 years, and it was my entire life savings. So that's why Brian and I don't have a house. Okay, scaling here. Okay, and then can I just have you kind of turn your head a little bit so I can kind of get under this sternocleidomastoid. Excellent. Over here on this side. Same thing. Can I just have you kind of turn your head? Very good, Henrik. And I'm just going to feel, let me just, yeah, you have a really harsh necklace on. It makes a funny sound. Just down here on your collarbone. The collarbone, really, there's a special node that if somebody has ovarian cancer, you can sometimes pick it up by the node, because ovarian cancer doesn't have a lot of symptoms, so it's really hard to screen for. So folks who have a family history of ovarian cancer, actually contraceptives, combined contraceptives, OCP pills, help that to be dealt with. Yeah. It helps prevent it. Now, the World Health Organization says there is some evidence, it's not great evidence, but there is some evidence that in families who have a breast cancer history, combined oral contraceptive pills actually increase the risk of breast cancer. So that's why your decision has to be very individual, and that's why I'm really against like over-the-counter reproductive treatment, because you really need a doctor, especially for something serious that could be life-changing or life-ending. You know, a lot of these medications, even things like Plan B that people want to put over the counter, like if you don't have a doctor, it could be very different, one person's need versus another person's need. Like what I just said with OCPs, and I think you should have to go to a doctor to make sure that you're taken care of. And there are free clinics, and in pretty much every city there's a free clinic, and there's a lot of contraceptive support. So I'm very for people actually going to the doctor and not just paying pharmaceutical companies, because the pharmaceutical companies want you to just buy everything all the time. They want it to be super, super easy to just get with no doctor, because, you know, it's all about that plata. All right. Next, let's take a look in your ears. So, like I said, when I'm in pain, a little bit all over the place, you understand, because you know what it's like to feel like crap. Sometimes it helps to just chat a little bit, you know, distract you a little bit from the discomfort. There we go. Yeah. And my little thingies. Oh, here's a little thingy. These are actually sterilizable, so I can reuse them, which is better for the environment. The other ones are the really flimsy plastic ones you can't re-sterilize, and so you can't reuse. So the environment just has to deal. But they're cheaper. These ones that I have cost a tiny bit more. Okay. Let's take a look in this ear. That big earring you've got is super plasticky and noisy. So here what we're looking for, I just want to make sure that you don't have significant scarring on the tympanic membrane. You have some scarring on the tympanic membrane. I just want to make sure that it's intact, that I can visualize it well. There's not too much cerumen blocking it, no erythema, edema, those kind of things. Now your inner ear there, not your inner ear, your ear canal is a little bit red. Has it been really itchy? Maybe have some allergies going on. I also cannot stop itching my ear canals. It is really difficult, especially when the cerumen starts getting annoying. It's a whole thing. Okay. I'm a little bit flaky, but other than that, okay. Over here. A little bit flaky, a little bit itchy, but a little tiny bit of scarring on your tympanic membrane, but not much. Otherwise, it's intact. There's no big, nasty, goopy stuff behind it. That's for like an ear infection. You'll see these like build-up things behind the tympanic membrane, and you know they have an ear infection up in there, and you need antibiotics. Okay. Alrighty. Otherwise, we're looking good there with those ears. So yes, I was saying chronic pain with the fibromyalgia and the PTSD. When the PTSD flares up, which happened last week, and like totally shot my confidence because I had been doing so well, and then I had like a completely public episode. Like security guards were called and everything. It sucked. PTSD sucks. And I really don't know why it's like that. It sucks. So obviously I have a therapist that I go to regularly, even here. And it's frustrating when you're like, especially when you're somebody who has always been able to do stuff yourself, and you want to be strong and independent, get stuff done and help people. It's really discouraging when like suddenly you are like a baby. That's just very frustrating, and I hate that. But with the combination with the fibromyalgia, what happens is the neurotransmitters spill. That happens with the PTSD, and maybe you have the same thing from what you were telling me. The nerve system spillage then affects your peripheral nervous system, and then you get to feel pain on top of it. So that sucks too. So that's why I know people laugh at things like emotional support animals, but the reality is some people, yeah, they just want to game the system. They're making stuff up with animals that are not capable of being emotional support animals. But some people actually really need them. Like when I go on a plane and I'm beginning to feel panic, which is dangerous not just for myself but for other people as well. And I'm not even like a combat expert. You can imagine a vet with PTSD who's a combat expert, how dangerous it is if they're not calm, right? So for that case, it's literally life-saving for them to have an emotional support animal with them on that plane. And some people like me are allergic to dogs and cats, and we can't be just dog and catting it around. And some of us need a more intelligent animal, and dogs and cats are actually not as intelligent as something like a parrot. I mean, that's just veterinary science, we just know that. But instead of veterinarians and doctors making the call of who can and cannot have or who can and cannot be an emotional support animal, it's like these airline corporations. So it sucks. I have a petition, which you can check out, to try to make it possible. Because then what happens is, so for someone like me, can't fly with the emotional support animal. So what happens while I'm trying to deal with the panic, I get to experience pain as well. So that's super fun. And that has affected me here in Paraguay with my work with indigenous people, because then I had this major panic attack on last Sunday that I would not have had I had my emotional support animal with me, because I would have been able to calm down and speak and say what I needed to say to advocate for myself and get out of there, instead of locking myself in the bathroom and being unable to get out. And it was the only bathroom in the entire establishment, and it was a nightmare, right? So, yeah, exactly. So, this is the real deal. This is what really happens when people feel like crap. So, I'm saying all that just to say, like, it's not unreasonable for you to feel like crap and for you to like want comfort. And then I know that other people may look at you as weak for wanting comfort, or they may be like, oh, you're spoiled or privileged. And you might be privileged, and who knows, you might also be spoiled. But when you have a real problem, you have real chronic pain, like I know you have, because it's proven, I have it documented in your record, and you have real mental illness, again, it's proven, it's documented in your record, I know you're not, shitting me. Then it's like, why not? What's wrong with you having a little bit of comfort? And healthy comfort. I'm not talking like the ice cream, which is really a form of self-harm. I'm talking like actual comfort. Fruit, acai, being able to sit, curl up with a blanket and feel safe. Having somebody with you who cares about you. Like, I think you should, I'm not going to say those are like human rights, because I work with people who don't even have like houses. So when we're talking real human rights issues, we're talking something way bigger than what I think I've been privileged to go through. But at the same time, like, what about human love? What about, like, what if we want, just because someone is suffering more, doesn't mean we don't want to alleviate this other suffering. We want to alleviate all suffering. We want to prioritize resources to the people who are suffering most. But that doesn't mean that we tell the other people to just suck it up. So anytime you feel like you need to compare your pain and suffering to someone else's, focus on this. How can I get better so that I can help those people? Instead of thinking, oh, I'm such a piece of shit because I feel like crap and there's other people who are suffering more, and like nobody can help anybody and the world is terrible and rah, rah. Instead of stop yourself for a second. Tell yourself, what can I do right now to help myself feel better so that I can make a realistic and rational plan to help that person who's suffering more, right? Maybe you heard a story about an orphanage in Liberia, like the orphanage that my friend Isabel takes care of, right? So, and you're in pain and struggling yourself and dealing with your, I don't know, maybe you're dealing with some self-harm stuff. I know you've got a history. What can I do to take care of myself? What therapy do I need to go to? Do I need to go to the doctor? Do I need an adjustment of my medications? Do I need to try a new kind of therapy? What do I need to do? Do I need to be eating different? Do I need to be exercising? Do I need to be sleeping more? Do I need to be more patient with myself? Do I need to sometimes take a day off so my body can recuperate and I can be better at my work the next day and more productive, right? What do I need to do so that I can then make a plan to help someone else? And then suddenly all this dumb guilt goes away, because then it's just about you doing what you need to do and then doing what you need to do, right? That would be my suggestion if you're feeling shit. Like, make a plan right now. What can I do? And don't be so discouraged that it's like, I've tried everything. I can help you find other things to try. There's always one more thing to try. Even at the end of the rope, there's like experimental stuff, you know. And then at the very, very end, after we've tried everything, after you've enrolled in all the studies, after you've done literally everything, there's always other options. There's always other things. That's where prayer comes in, really. Although that's maybe a little offensive. A lot of people say, no, prayer should be the first thing. I'm not going to crap on anyone's beliefs. But I'm just telling you that whatever you believe in, there's always one more option, right? So I'm a big fan of making action plans. Maybe too big of a fan of that. Alright, so we did eyes, we did ears. Checked your scalp a little bit. Because your ears are a little bit congested, actually, let me take this back out. Or not congested, but because of the allergy itching. Let me take this back out and just take a little tiny look. I actually want to take a peek in your nose. Is that okay? Get a clean one of these. I know it's a lot of talking. That's the reality, though, when we kind of know each other, and I feel like crap, too. Awesome. You do have some swollen erythematous turbinates. You know what that means? That means the wall of your nose, there's like these round little things. I don't know how else to describe them. They're swollen and red. So, I can add an allergy med to your regimen. Some people really believe in honey. I haven't seen a ton of studies on honey and allergies, but I know there are some. So, it's certainly something you can try. Alrighty, let's do a couple things with your heart, lungs, abdomen. I want to listen sitting up to your heart, and then I'd like you to lie down. I'll listen to your heart and abdomen, but lungs and everything we're going to do sitting up first, okay? And then I'm going to have you move over. We're not going to use this bed. I actually want you to move to the other room, because there's a bed already prepared for you there. Okay. Okay, this is the diaphragm with the stethoscope, see? And this is also a diaphragm, but it's a mini diaphragm. This is the bell. So, the bell listens to sounds differently, and we're going to listen with both the bell and the diaphragm. So, when we listen with this side, because of its shape, I don't necessarily have to take this off, but some people would take this off to listen. And then you just press harder or not as hard to be able to hear. Alright. That's enough explanation, right? So, Henrik, I'm just going to have you be real quiet. Alright. And then over here, so we listen to the aortic area, pulmonary area. We listen down here in the tricuspid area. Yep, that's the lower, that's the sternal border on the left. And then down here, the mitral area. And usually I just ask kind of if you have big pecs or breasts, just have people kind of move that up so that I can listen underneath. And then I also listen here on the side of the rib here. Perfect. Alright, very, very good. Alright, I'm going to listen to your back a little bit. I see. Yeah, we can do a slightly more detailed lung exam then. That's not a problem. Let's go around here to your back. So, first I'm going to listen up at the apex of your lung. That's this it's really not super necessary in your case. I mean, since you've been having the cough, it's worth it. Basically, the point of that is to listen to hear if there's masses in your lung. Yeah. I'm actually going to come around to the other side if that's okay. Okay. And then we're going to come back here. Deep breath in. Okay. Now here, can you say E? Good. And here, E. Very good. Here, E. Great. And over here, E. Excellent. And over here, E. Good. And then on the other side, deep. Can you say E? And here, E. Here, E. Good. And down here, E. And over here, E. Over here, E. Good. Okay. Here, can you say 99? 99. 99. 99. 99. 99. 99. 99. Great. I actually just want to feel something back here. All the way over to your back. Okay, take a deep breath. Why did you like that? So that is to cup the back of your lungs as they expand. As they expand, I want to see that they expand the same way on both sides. From the front here, I also just kind of look at your trachea, see that you're in alignment. I can see through the top of your shirt, right, that there's no retractions here. You know, actually, can you lift up your shirt and take a breath? Nice, very nice. You are not, you're good. You're good as far as that's concerned. So I really think the cough is allergic too. I do think that. I would actually like you to step into the other room and kind of lie down now. Is that okay? Okay. Okay. Now you're kind of lying down here, 30-degree angle, right? I want to hear your heart from this angle, okay? And then I'm going to kind of have you lie on your side, and I'd like to hear your heart from that angle as well, okay? Just because, you know, with the recent results that you'd had from your cardiologist and so forth, I'm never going to be as accurate as your cardiologist, but I can keep them informed, right? Since it's cheaper to see me more often than it is to see the cardiologist, right? So again, listen to the aortic area, the pulmonary area, the tricuspid area, the mitral area, and then here on your side. Okay. And then here, can I just have you squeeze your fists really, really hard? Great. And then over here, same thing. Just squeeze your fist really, really hard. Good. And here, squeeze your fist really hard. Good. And here, squeeze your fist really hard. Excellent. And then here, can I have you bear down like you gotta go to the bathroom? Yeah, like. Also, the reason I'm doing these things is I'm altering the blood flow in your heart by you doing that. When you squeeze your hands, you change what's coming out of your heart because your arm is so close to your left arm is close to your heart, and so when your heart is trying to shoot blood out of it, what happens, Henrik, is you squeezing puts pressure backwards, and then the heart valves have to deal with that. And so I want to hear what happens when there's backflow, whether your heart is good at holding the valves or whether they gurgle and let backflow. That's kind of a simple way to put it. When you're bearing down, what we're doing is we're increasing the pressure in this cavity, and that changes the veins and stuff that are going into your heart, right? basically you're increasing the pressure that way. You're pushing harder into the heart, right? And so then I want to see, how are the valves responding to that? Are they holding up? Are they letting stuff through? What's going on? Does that make sense? Okay, so let's have you bear down. I know it feels silly. And this is not the whole exam that we usually do, but just because of your health issues, I want to make sure we're doing the right thing. Okay. Excellent. And bear down again. Good. And over here. Good. Bear down. To tell you the truth, the heart and lung exam is, to me, like one of the few moments where I'm able to be where I am. Does that make sense? Because sometimes we're, like, if we have past trauma, we're stuck in the past. And I mean, like, trauma, right? I think people use the word really lightly, especially kind of privileged people use the word lightly. That's not to say a privileged person can't have trauma, but, I mean, when I'm talking trauma, I'm talking about, like, the kind of stuff I've seen with my patients, like child, physical, like, whether penetrative or non-penetrative, like molestation and bad touch abuse, right? That's what we're talking about. Or, you know, assault in adulthood, those kind of things. That's what I usually mean by trauma. Or like having seen over and over again, like what happens with paramedics and firefighters and physicians sometimes, over and over again, the same horrible stuff. And it doesn't make you weak if you are not prepared to face other things in life, right? Like some people have depression and mental illness and chronic pain without having a severe trauma, right? And it can still be really debilitating because through some reason your chemicals got messed up. That's still something that needs to be treated and taken care of. So I just think it's important that we call things what they actually are. When someone is mean and nasty to you, that's not necessarily trauma. That is mistreatment, maltrato. I'm thinking in Spanish still. And it's wrong, and it can be seriously damaging, and it can be something you carry with you, or the death of a family member can sometimes be a trauma, right? But I think we should call things what they are, and not try to use names for other things. Like, people joke a lot about, like, oh, this thing gives me PTSD, and it's like, well, real PTSD really, really sucks. It makes you feel like an idiot because you can't do normal things, right? So we should call things what they actually are. But then, on the other hand, we shouldn't diminish other kinds of suffering, right? If you have generalized anxiety disorder and OCD, and you don't have a very specific past trauma, you just have super mean and nasty neurochemicals, and you had an upbringing that didn't prepare you for that, you may still need an emotional support animal, and that's still valid. It depends on what you and your doctor have to say. And I think veterinarians should have a say as well in whether or not a creature can qualify, and that'll prevent things like animal trafficking. So I'm thinking a lot about emotional support animals today because I have had a rough week. But, you know, I'm glad, yeah. And it's important to be honest and to be able to validate your things while being honest, to recognize that what you need to work on is still valid and still needs to be worked on, because that's how you are going to help other people later. You're not going to help anyone else if you decide your problems don't mean anything and therefore you don't work on them, right? You've got to work on them. Let me listen to your belly. I know we're talking a lot, but since we have an hour and I haven't seen you in a while, I think it's kind of nice to commiserate together. We can be miserable together. I'm so sorry you're not feeling well. I'm hoping this distracts you a little bit. And I'm hoping that just kind of being in a quiet place with someone who also has pain and gets mad about people ignoring your pain. Because people are like you come into the hospital or something, people will be like, oh, you just have chronic pain. It's no big deal. You have to understand they're coming from a place where, like, they're trying to make sure people... Let me check your back again while I do talk. to make sure people don't die. So they have to prioritize that, people dying or not. But that doesn't mean you don't still need help with your chronic pain. That's where getting a pain specialist involved is helpful if you don't have one. Yeah. Yeah, I could get you to somebody. Just kind of, I know it's not super flattering you looking from below at me, but you just relax there. Sometimes I have to review the dumbest stuff, to tell you the truth. You just become anxious, kind of. Okay. Oh, that is a good question. I mean, yeah, we can talk about that before I do the abdominal exam and stuff like that. Yeah. What does your therapist say about that? Well, there are a couple techniques that I find helpful for chronic, like distraction from chronic pain. I mean, everyone obviously being distraction. In some of in the playlist, you know I made the playlist for mental health. There are some videos with DBT handouts for distraction. I think under the one that's titled 4 Ways to Fight Depression or something like that. That one has a huge list of distraction techniques that are actually helpful if you have chronic pain. Because part of the problem in chronic pain is you have both the signals that are coming from your body and the signals that are coming from the central nervous system. And while you may not always be able to control what your body is sending you, there's some extent to which you can alter some of the signals that are coming from here that sometimes worsen the pain. They did an experiment with snails. That was not a very nice experiment, where they checked their nerves and they hurt the snail in the same place over and over and over again. And over time, you would think that the snail would get used to it, but actually it became the opposite. The snail began to anticipate the pain, and then that nerve would actually fire worse, and there would be worse pain, right? So over time, the pain in that area became worse instead of better. And that's something that happens with chronic pain. And so if we can manage some of the anticipatory signals, we can affect how we perceive the pain overall. Part of it can't be altered so much by us, or at least not at this point in time. It's a little difficult, because part of it is because the local nerves begin to change. But it's really amazing how much self-programming this computer up here is, and how much software there is that we can kind of mess with. And so part of the idea with things like pain psychology is you kind of mess with some of this so that your perception of pain changes a little bit. And that helps so that at least you're not sending signals to that nerve to say, we need to hurt more because we're going to hurt. So one way to do that is with distraction. When you're in pain, there's also a form of distraction called opposite action. For example, there are days when you're just going to have to rest, and it's hard to know when that is, where you're just going to have to lie down and rest. But if your pain is making you lie down and rest all the time so that you're never able to do anything, then there's a high possibility that's what's happening, is you are potentiating the pain up here, and that's not your fault. It's not like you're doing wrong. I used to feel very guilty for having chronic pain, because I had a pain psychologist who wasn't very good at talking, and he made me feel like I should just be able to think the pain away, because that's how fibers should work, and that just isn't, that's not what I'm saying at all. But opposite action basically is, if the pain wants you to stay in bed all day, but you are able to physically move and it's not going to hurt, it's not going to make your next day's function worse if you do some activity, opposite action, do the opposite of what your pain tells you to do. That way you're kind of sending a message from your brain that, hey, it's going to be okay. And again, I don't want you to do anything that's going to re-break a limb, right? If you have chronic pain because of a disc injury, you're not going to go out there and start lifting cement. But you might go out there and do some gentle gardening, right? You do something to get that moving also, because part of what happens sometimes with chronic pain too is you get bad blood flow to that area, and you get muscle tension in that area, and then we have a problem because now we're getting an additional pain signal from the muscle on top of the pain we already had. So that's where a little bit of gentle exercise and movement, especially for back pain, actually is necessary. So we do opposite action, and that's one way we help with the pain. So we go out there and we change how our nervous system is perceiving it. Again, you have to be wise about this. You have to think functionally. Like if I know that I need to rest a couple hours each day where I'm lying down and not wearing clothes, or I'm going to have too much skin sensitivity and then I'm going to be useless the next day. But if I just lie down all the time, my body starts to stiffen up, and actually then my pain is going to get worse and worse and worse. So you have to balance and be realistic about what you can actually accomplish, and that requires a lot of trial and error. It requires you knowing what you want to do with your life, and then little by little trying to do it, right? And that takes a lot of faith also. I'm going to be super honest with you. I didn't think, while it has been a really awful week, I didn't think a couple years ago, like even a couple months ago, I was like, I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do. I have had these plans and desires prepared all my life, and I promised myself that even if I have to get, take a wheelchair across the Darien Gap, I'm going to get to Paraguay. And then this hit me, and getting on the plane was terrifying. And the fact that there is a ban right now on emotional support animals, especially birds, for all flights to South America. There are some dogs and cats that are allowed, but very, very few. And it's like, so I was terrified. And no thanks to the airlines, right? Managed to get here. I can actually show you a little bit on my, would you like to see a little bit about what I've been doing? It's been amazing. It really has been. Let me show you. It's been crazy because I have been able to work on a child abuse prevention program, teaching kids how to appropriately identify the parts of their body, and how to tell an adult, and how to avoid adult manipulation for abuse, because usually it is an adult who they know and trust who tends to abuse them. Usually it's not, it can be violent sometimes, but a lot of abuse is very insidious, and the person will talk sweetly to the person while they're abusing them and really mess up their brain. So teaching children how to report and how to recognize abuse and lies is a huge deal. But parents aren't going to send their kids to me if I say that's what we're doing. So instead, I made a program where I'm teaching martial arts each week, and at the end, we're watching a UNICEF animation about basically teaching kids how to deal with child abuse. So it's just really, really cool that we were able to do that. Next year, I want to expand this program to do the same thing for assault recovery and recovery specifically from, the violación is what we say in Spanish, right? Specifically, I want to help people recover from RAPE. So, but people aren't going to just show up if I just frame it that way. So instead, again, it's going to be a self-defense class. I'm going to try to work with a jiu-jitsu professional here to kind of be the bait to then get people into a protection and prevention class where we talk about sexual health and abuse prevention and all these kind of things that adults also need to know. And so that's the expansion idea for next year. We've been doing a lot of work with Indigenous communities as far as resource allocation, like how do we get food to people who don't have food. I've been working a little bit with this group that also has been doing occupational training, and I'd love to expand into that next year. But the main thing that I've been doing is just taking my backpack down to the community and starting to teach kids and young people how to read. There's a 12-year-old girl there who takes care of all her younger siblings basically by herself. She's basically the mom. Her mom is not usually available, and so she's taking care of 3 or 4 other kids, and she's never had the opportunity to learn to read. So her future life is miserable. There's a high possibility, especially with her behavior, that she has been abused in the past. And we're talking, probably probably sexually as well. And if I can give her some confidence and we can get her into school, I got her connected with one of the charity teachers here at, there's a church that works, that's like an indigenous, like Guarani speaking church, that I've been trying to reach out to and connect with local community leaders, and so got them connected there, so I can try to get her enrolled in school here in November, hopefully. And in the meantime, trying to give her a little confidence and do a little reading practice with her and with some of the other kids too, so they can learn to read. So that's a little program that we've been doing. Been working on getting my medical license transferred over here in Paraguay, which is a mess and a lot of bureaucracy, and there's some things about Paraguayan medicine is phenomenal, very, very modern, but there are some things about access and about how generalists and specialists work that just bother me so much. Incredibly frustrating. So I don't know, I feel sometimes like people aren't going to believe in me, but the people who need me most, they believe in me, so that's where we're going. Goal is to bring health access through mobile clinics to people who really don't have basic primary care access, and then really focus otherwise on that sexual health and trauma recovery programs that basically all the pain in my life has been preparing me for this. And this is where I just want to pause. Don't look at the video anymore. I just want to tell you, just pause and look at me. I just want to tell you that, like, none of this would have been possible if I hadn't had severe PTSD and chronic pain. I've been working on a unaliving prevention protocol here in one of the indigenous communities that I work with, where they had a recent case of a 15-year-old girl who chose not to live anymore, and it has dramatically affected her family, her parents, her sisters, everybody, her brother. And little by little, I have gotten into this people group. Started by cleaning up trash, then I brought my ultrasound machine to look at one of the lady's babies so that she can see the baby's face, and start to basically kind of ingratiate myself so that people like me and trust me. And then I managed to arrange a meeting between a political leader in the area and the leader of this indigenous community, so that they can work together and make some resource differences for this community, and I'm excited about that. But this, the change in this mother since I began this unaliving post-vention program has been phenomenal, and that's not me. It's because of the horrible things that I've seen and gone through, because I was hospitalized for 30 days with the desire not to die, with the desire to die, right? Because of all these things, I know and I'm able to talk about without stigma what it's like to want to not exist anymore. And I'm able to explain scientifically what happened to their daughter, because it's happened to me before too. And to take away the stigma and the guilt so that they understand it was an illness. And it does not necessarily mean we don't know what was going through her head. We don't, because the mother asked me, like, why couldn't she tell me that she needed help? Why didn't she tell her mother that she needed help? I don't understand. And trying to explain that with this kind of mental illness that leads to somebody not living anymore, there is a severe problem in the parts of the brain that are trying to make decisions, and you can't think anymore. So she couldn't even think to ask for help. That's how ill this person was. And explaining that, how do we prevent this happening in the future? How do we make connections so that we can recognize when we're starting to have these illnesses, and what can helping people understand, because parents of these kind of kids who've had this horrible, horrible experience, they have to be able to change the narrative in their mind. The scientific part helps them so much. The dad asked me, what are these chemicals called in the brain that are behaving this way, right? He asked me. I've been learning Guarani, the indigenous language, and it's hard. And I wouldn't have been able to do anything without the pain and suffering that I've been through. So sometimes I feel really useless because I can't work the same way I used to as a physician. I can't do, like, a realistic medical exam with me is like this. We take a lot of time, we suffer, we talk, and it's not, I can't see the 30 patients a day anymore, right? That, I think my max, I didn't quite get to 30 in the military, but I almost got there, right? I can't do that anymore. I can't even see very many a week. I have entire days where I can't function like a human being. And that sucks. So sometimes I feel super useless. So if you feel useless, I get it. But even feeling useless, it's literally the things that make me useless that make me most useful. And that might be the case for you too. So I just want to encourage you not to give up. And if you need help, there are resources below in the description handout that I've got for you. Yeah, just take this piece of paper here, because there are resources to help you to stay alive, because you never know if what you're going through is going to be your superhero origin story. So yeah, we can order you a pain specialist. You really should always have one. A pain psychologist can be very helpful if you can find one. I have a health coaching client right now who is having a ton of trouble finding a pain psychologist. What is health coaching? Health coaching is something that I do for folks who I can't be their doctor because I'm not licensed in their area. I help them figure out how best to access their doctor, what kind of things to ask. Because sometimes doctors are too busy to research the newest medicine, and medicine is so broad that sometimes someone like me who's had a chronic pain and who's had this trauma and who's been in that space, sometimes because I've both been a patient and a physician treating these things, sometimes I have a little bit more knowledge of certain things. And your doctor may have knowledge of other things. Your doctor is probably way better at treating diabetes than I have, because it's been a really long time since I've really treated a diabetic, right? Like the bread and butter. If there have been any changes in hypertensive medications in the last couple of years, and I know there have been a couple, I know my basics, but your doctor is probably going to be better at that than I am. So it depends on what we're talking about. But some of these things, and so because each doctor is kind of focused on what they see most, sometimes they don't have time to understand, how do we deal with chronic pain? What's the newest research on pain? I do have time because I'm in pain all the time, and so I also need to know, right? So sometimes for health coaching, sometimes it benefits for mental illness too, to have somebody who's been there come alongside you, find the newest stuff, and give it to you to take to your doctor, or even write letters to your doctor. I've written letters to bosses on behalf of patients or health coaching clients so that they realize, this person has this, this, and this going on, and I've encouraged them to seek their doctor for this, this, and this. I hope you'll understand, just a non-biased person who is not their doctor directly, but who is a physician, has evaluated this person, and I'm concerned about XYZ, and I'm hoping you can give XYZ accommodation. And that helps a little bit. And then they can also go to their doctor, take that to their doctor, and get a different kind of more formal letter. So there's all kinds of things that you can do to kind of, it's just helpful to have basically your own personal researcher in things like recovering from trauma and chronic pain. So that's something I do. Yeah. I'm not taking a lot of new people right now, though. So I do have one space that just opened up, but I may be filling it soon, because once I take somebody, I'm with them for the long haul until they decide, hey, I've gotten better enough, I don't need this anymore. So, I have people, yeah. So, yeah, I only keep a couple running at a time, and then beyond that, I tend to have people, and then I have my patients. That's all healthcare.byjenfinelli.com. But it's super limited what I take on right now. So I try to offer free resources, though. Yeah, so that you can understand how you can take things to your doctor and what you can ask your doctor about. And I'm hoping to offer more of those, to tell you the truth. Almost like a generalized, because I'm realizing I don't have time, or the ability physically because of my illness to coach and help everyone I would like to. Like I said, it's really limited. But I'm hoping that in the future I can do more visits like this one that you and I are having. and kind of dig a little more into what's going on. I had thought of putting mental health stuff like only on, like doing it only with the superhero project. But I think sometimes it's good to have someone like talk to you and calm you down, and it just depends on how you frame it, right? In this kind of visit, I think it's kind of nice. So it's going to kind of depend. More direct, useful techniques, I think we're going to do superhero-wise, but we'll have to see. How we do things. Can I listen to your abdomen now? I hope some of this information is helpful. I really do. Alright, let me listen to your belly here. It's always better lying down. We always listen first. And over here. And then we percuss. What's percussion? I did it last time with you. It's when you tap. Put it on the belly. Your belly sounds funny. Not in a bad way. You just have very, very tough abs. Okay, just gonna feel with my hands now. Just gonna palpate here and here and here. Can we move your belt a little bit out of the way? Thanks. I just kind of need to get to this lower quadrant a little bit. And you just have very exciting flashy clothes on today. There we go. Excellent. Okay. And then here and here. Excellent. Yeah. So neuro-wise, like, check my hand, watch my fingers. Okay. Can you see my fingers? Tell me when you can see both my fingers, both sides. Perfect. Okay. Open your mouth and say ah while looking up at the light. Okay. Hear that? Okay. Close your eyes and then tell me when you can hear it. Same thing. Close your eyes and then tell me when you can hear it. Okay, great. Move your tongue from side to side. Does this feel the same on both sides? Okay. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, can you go ahead and smile real big? Puff out your cheeks and wrinkle your forehead and raise your eyebrows. Excellent. Squeeze your eyes closed real tight. Perfect. And 9 and 10 we did. Let me have you shrug your shoulders. Great. That's your cranial nerve exam complete. It's not this long thing that people make it out to be. Obviously, when I'm talking, things take longer. Do this, and this, and this. Excellent. We're checking your cerebellum. Flap your feet. Flap your feet against my hand. I would like you to take your knee and your foot and rub it against the other knee like that. Just like that. Well done. Okay, I'll take your reflexes real quick. And then we will make our plan. Oh, that sucks. I'm sorry that happened. Oh, okay. Yeah, some people... This is a cool thing. It used to have a little stick so I could also check for diabetic, like people with that severe diabetes lose nerve feeling in their feet. And so it's something you have to check. But it's broken now. Alright, knees first, the easiest ones. Look away, wiggle a little bit. I don't want you to be tense and tight and messing up my exam, Henrik. Deep breath in and out. Hey, what's that over there? Got you. Alright, same thing. Sometimes people who are anxious, it's harder to get the reflexes going. What's your favorite kind of cake? I see. That was a good answer. Cake is bad. Alright, these reflexes are a little harder. And nice. Over here. Yeah, just gonna hold your arm like that. Tap right there. Alright. Wiggle your arm. Don't be all tense on me now. Be. It's another reason the white coat sucks. It makes people anxious. Fortunately, I don't have one on right now. I have blue on. You're safe. Are you ready? Nice. Okay. Lay your hand in mine like this. Okay. Just tap on your wrist here. And over here. Okay. And then I'm just gonna, right here. Ah, nice. Very nice. Okay. Very good. Okay. I'm happy with that, Henrik. Oh, one more. Achilles tendon. While we're down here, let's knock out a Babinski, right? Get your shoes off. Here, I'll give you a little space. Great. Okay. And woof. Woof. What was that? So when I do this, I'm trying to see if your toes curl or uncurl. You can look it up. You can look up what the Babinski is for. Okay. Alrighty, my friend. Let me just double check the vitals that my lovely medic got for you. I'm pretty happy with that. Okay. So I think here's the plan. I'm going to order a pain psychologist for you. I think you do need a referral to a pain medicine physician. I'm glad you're following up with your therapist. That's the right thing to do. If you want, we can do coaching stuff so that week by week I can help you follow up with the exercises your therapist has given you, kind of help you really access your care and look up new ideas. That's something we can do. Yeah. And then the pain medicine referral I put in already. And then allergy medication. Yeah, non-drowsy. Non-drowsy, that's the goal. Otherwise, I think we're pretty good. I've ordered some labs for you. I am a little concerned about nutrition and weight stuff. And even though you don't have your neck that much, over 15 inches, like, are you stopping breathing in the middle of the night? Like, do your family members report that? And you're snoring a lot. Are you waking up, like, unable to breathe? Are you waking up, like, still really tired? You have, like, a headache and stuff like that? I think it'd be worth it for you to get a sleep study done, yeah. I do. And because of your gender, too. Yeah, that definitely plays a role, biologically.